Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone, and welcome back to Mucky Hope Productions. I'm your host, Mucky Hope, and I'm here all by myself, all by my lonely self. Just here to vent about the recent comments that Jeff Probst and Jeremy Collins have been making, and just a general vent just about Survivor US and the new era game of Survivor just as a whole. And I guess I'll just start off with just my original feelings about new era. So if you're a regular on the channel, you would know that I very much do not like the new era of Survivor. I'm quite passionate and shit talking it and hating on it. And part of the reason why is because I fell out of American Survivor. You know, I remember way back in 2021, like, you know, the build up to season 41, we got to see, you know, season 41, watching it live and stuff. I was all over it. I was like, yes, American Survivor's come back. We've got season 41. We've got Brains versus Brawn 1 happening at the same time. Like, this is great. I'm loving it. But as the new era seasons went along, we went from having, like, you know, great characters, people that I fell in love with, people like Rick Devens, Christian Hubicki. I mean, to be fair, the whole David vs. Goliath cast as a whole is just great. You know, like, everyone is pretty much 10 out of 10. I love that cast so much. But we've gone from the characters, the wild cards, having like your Noras, and your Angelinas, your Natalies, your Davies, your Christians, like even people like your Johns, you get what I mean? From, I guess, the late 30s era into this new era where there was no one who I could really root for. No one really stuck out to me. And every now and then you'd find a good personality. Like for me, like it was Sydney from season 41. From season 42, it was Marianne. From 43, it was Cody and Gabler. And 44 is like, okay, at least he's Carolyn. But these are 1 to 2 people per cast. And like, even with Sydney, like, even though I think Sydney's great, like, she wasn't phenomenal. You get what I mean? She wasn't like some of my favorite Survivor players I have. Like, in Australian Survivor, you'd always have like 7 to 10 main characters that you're like, oh my God, you have so much to talk about. But is there really anything to talk about with a lot of the new era, like, characters or players? Personally, I didn't find so. And so the more I watched the new era Survivor seasons, the more I kind of fell out of love with it because I had no one to really root for, no one to like root against. You know, there's no hero or villain or underdog or anything because, as Jeff Probst has said, he doesn't want villains on the show anymore. And we're going to be diving into Jeff like pretty bloody soon as well. But he said he didn't want villains on the show. So now we don't have any of these grand, spectacular, like, battles between heroes and villains, or, you know, like the top dog versus the underdog. It's now all just meh. You get what I mean? It's all sort of clumped together. And while there have been specific new era seasons I haven't watched, I feel like I've gotten the gist of it just by hearing it from V or from Drew or Jake, who's currently covering American Survivor Season 49. Make sure you check out our recaps every Friday around midday New Zealand and Australian time. But yeah, so that's sort of where I sit with American Survivor. And obviously they've got their twists, like where players lose their votes, you know, that they're penalized for actually trying to play the game. Like the one tribal I'll always remember is the Jenny tribal in season 42, how Mike found an idol, so he lost his vote. Chanel risked her vote, and yet, you know, she risked her vote, right? To try and gain an advantage. She lost her vote. Hai and Lydia did pretty much nothing to get up out of the bottom. It was pretty much a guarantee one of them would have been voted out, but because Mike and Chanel lost their votes for actually playing the game, they forced a deadlock pretty much. And it's like, well, what's going to happen? The two people on the bottom, they've literally done nothing. They haven't found an idol. They haven't pulled any crafty maneuvers like, you know, Russell tricking Tyson to vote for Parvati instead of, you know, Russell. None of that. It was literally just like, oh, we're just going to sit here and do nothing. And they won the vote. And poor Jenny got voted out simply because her alliance played the game. Her alliance tried playing the game, tried having the adventure of a lifetime, but when it comes with new era, you can't play the game. You just have to sit on your ass and just hope you get taken to the end, blindside your best mate at the final 5 or final 6, and just hope you win the game. That is the current winning formula for New Era, and I just find that super boring. I'm just not into that. I love seeing players play. We would never get the George, Simon, and Fraser like tribal moment if Liz has lost a vote, if Geordie has lost his vote. We're not going to get even the David blindside on Australia versus the world. Like, for me personally, that's probably like a top 10, probably near like 8 or 7 sort of mark for like blindsides in Australian Survivor. Just Kirby's move at Tribal Council, getting everyone, Sarah and Shawnee to vote for David, and then it goes to a revote and stuff. Like, the tension were at an all-time high. David and George trying to figure something out, work together. I love that shit. I really did. But that doesn't work if Kirby, Sarah, or Shawnee don't have a vote. If they, found an idol, it's like, oopsies, I got to say a phrase. Or they tried risking for something and then they didn't get it. Or quite literally in season 44, where they were forced to try and play for an advantage. And it was just mind blowing. Not a fan of the lose your vote twist at all. And even like the no swaps or anything like that. Like, I feel like fans are starving for any good Survivor. Like, I remember when season 45 had the intro, fans were like, oh my God, the intro is back. Everyone, Survivor's saved. They brought back the opening credits, the opening theme, a yo, yo, yodi, ha, ha. And it's like, yeah, Survivor intros are cool. I love Survivor intros more than the next person, but that doesn't save a season of Survivor. They brought back the auction. Oh my gosh, CBS is listening to the fans. They brought back the auction. Okay, but that still doesn't save a season of Survivor. And then in the most recent season, I've got a friend, bless his heart, I love him to bits, but he messaged me in this group chat that I have to say, hey, Mucky, just to let you know that there was a tribe swap. Oh my God, a tribe swap. The game is starting to get good again. And it's like, you know what? If fans really love intros, auctions, and tribe swaps, do you know a season that has all 3 of those? One World. Survivor, One World. Why isn't that one of the greatest seasons of all time? It has your auctions. It does have a pretty great moment with Kat and the BLT. Has a Survivor intro. And also, has a tribe swap. Why isn't that one of the greatest seasons that the world has ever seen? If that's what saves Survivor, if that's what makes Survivor good. And even then, it's like, what is it, season 47 auction, where it's like you had to find your money, and like if you didn't find any money, you couldn't participate in the auction. I mean, sure, it's a unique twist, and if you try it once, every twist you got to try once to keep things entertaining. But I remember Jeff and CBS were talking about how they didn't want to do the auction because people would constantly game the auction. But something that they've done in Survivor UK, even Australian Survivors, that they've hidden advantages in the food items. Chris got the idol clue because it was wrapped up in a towel for like a bath thing he had to do. You had Raymond's advantage in the popcorn. I think Shawnee's steal a vote was in like a jar of lollies as well. Have something at the bottom of a meal, like an idol clue written on the plate or something. They've done that before in the one-on-one sort of rewards where there's an idol clue at the bottom of the food. And yeah, they just never think to do any of this. And it's like, no one really cares about who gets what advantage at the auction. People just love seeing people who are so deprived of food and flavor and everything finally getting to enjoy something. Yeah, that's why I like watching the auction. I know that's why a lot of fans like watching the auction. But now that the game is only 26 days long, are you really starving? Is it really that bad? I mean, I feel like the food on US Survivor is probably getting pretty low because I've been filming in Fiji on the exact same 3 beaches for how many years? I feel like Millennials vs. Gen X came out. Oh, that would have been maybe 2015, 2016. I started watching American Survivor quite late, so sorry if I'm, quite bad with my years, but they've been on the same location for over 10 years. For over 10 years. How are they still getting food at this point? You get what I mean? And so, obviously, they're having to grab it from nearby islands and whatnot, but do what Australian Survivor did. Literally film in your own backyard. Survivor the Grand Canyon. Survivor the Arizona. You've already done the Amazon before. Go to South America or How about a good old twist? Survivor Canada, Survivor the Rocky Mountains. There's so many great, cool locations within America that's local that you can easily do, but they choose not to. Let's just go to the same old three beaches. Let's do the exact same type of challenges in the exact same spots over and over again because, hey, it's cheap, it's easy. And a comment here from welcome to the live, Jenny. Long time no see. I hate how much Jeff disrespects any Survivor, which isn't the US, lol. It ain't even the OG. The original OG isn't even the US version. That's pretty crazy. I actually didn't even know that, Jenny. What was the original version? Was it UK? I have a weird feeling that it might have been UK or even South Africa. I know that they kind of came out roughly at the same time. But let's quickly look at why a lot of people are probably here today. At the comments that Jeff and Jeremy Collins have been making about Parvati and her win on Australian Survivor. First of all, mad shout out to the Drop Your Buffs podcast for sharing this clip because I could not be bothered going all the way through the actual podcast to find this clip. But here we go. Let's give this a listen.
On the spot. And I mean this as a legit question. In the Survivor world, does Parvati winning Survivor Australia count in the same way that winning this Survivor does? Is she now a two-time Survivor winner?
So listen, I don't think so. In my Survivor world, I say she has 1.5 wins. It's a good win. Australia Survivor is a good win, but it's not the same as Survivor US. It's not the same.
All right, back to you, Jay.
I just love how casual Jeff is about it. All right, right back to you, Jay. And Swedish Survivor. I knew that Finland had Survivor, but Swedish Survivor? My gosh, Jenny pumping out Australia versus the World 2 options, I think came out in 1997. That is pretty crazy. Actually, yeah. So look at Jeff being like, oh, we're the OG, we're the greatest. But here we go. Full proof, Jenny. You've just solved the whole debate. Jeff isn't even the original. Survivor US isn't even the original, everyone. It is Swedish Survivor or Survivor Sweden. Let's quickly talk about the comments that Jeremy Collins made saying that, it's not real Survivor. Now, I don't think that is Jeremy talking properly here. I mean, I don't know. Just the way he was speaking, it kind of sounds like he's got like a gun to his head. Like if you were to re-listen to that, hang on, let me just bring it right back up again.
I'm going to put you on the spot. And I mean this as a legit question.
Just hear it
in the Survivor world, does Parvati winning Survivor Australia count in the same way that winning this Survivor does? Is she now a two-time Survivor winner?
So listen, I don't think so. In my Survivor world, I say she has.
I'm just going to tell you what you want to
hear.
No, but this whole thing on like 1.5 wins, right? Now, I do know that one of the greatest criticisms for Australia versus the world, which is something that I do agree with, is that it's only 16 days long, right? Oh gosh, sorry. Let me just put that on silent. I didn't realize that my phone was calling. So yeah, like in terms of the whole 16-day argument, I do understand and I do agree. It is too short for a Survivor season. However, the caliber of the cast makes up for the lack of days, right? And these are all stars again. These are literally the greatest of the greats. Like I've said time and time again, if you had to get 3 Americans, they got the Americans. If you had to get 7 Australians, I would say at least 5 of them, probably excluding Janine and Sarah, which I will also advertise why I think they were deserving on that cast, but there's a podcast for another time. But Kirby, Shawnee, David, Luke, George, all deserve to be on the Australian tribe. Huge, huge players in the Australian Survivor franchise. Tommy was great. I saw his season of Survivor Finland. From the stuff I've heard about Cassandra, she's great. If you had to get one winner from Survivor South Africa, Rob is applied to again. Even Harold in New Zealand. We don't have a lot of massive players, but guess what? Lisa probably is the best player in New Zealand. So Lisa was a great pick to have on the World Tribe representing New Zealand. Not everyone may like her, especially now after she tried to quit, but still the greatest player in Survivor New Zealand, hands down. But yeah, 1.5 wins. This isn't real Survivor. Well, guess what, Jeremy? The current state of Survivor is only 10 days longer than, 10 days longer than what the Australia versus the World Survivor was. Only by 10 days. That's not that long. That's not that long at all. So what, are you saying that all New Era Survivor isn't real Survivor either? Because that's only 26 days. Now, for me personally, the days, while I understand that's a problem, it's never been an issue for me. It's always been the casting. Australia vs. World has proved if you get the right cast, they can make the most smallest seasons seem as one of the greatest seasons of all time. You know, with everything that George was doing, Kirby, Parvati, Luke, you know, you had Parvati, the overwhelming top dog with all the advantages, and Luke constantly scraping at the bottom, trying to make plans work, winning immunity after immunity, getting Parvati to rip up the idol steal advantage. Like, for such a short season, so much happened. Now, while I will give the benefit of the doubt, it was the greatest players all around the world in the shortest season, and that's why it turned out so well compared to New Era Survivor, where so far we have yet to have a season of returning players. And I just think we're just going to have to wait for 50 to really make the argument, does the number of days really matter? Because Australia vs. World has proved, no, it doesn't. However, I think for new players, it absolutely does. Because with new players, you don't really know what you're doing. You're out there, you're, you know, thriving together, you're starving together, you're losing together. There's so much that's going on, but you don't have the time to really process anything. Like, some of my favorite moves is the social ones, right? And like, everyone can talk about Cerie's move at the final 5 of Micronesia, where her and Natalie convinced Eric to give up individual immunity. Now, if they hadn't worked with Eric at all, right, and it was just vote after vote, does that move still happen? No, because Cirie and Natalie do not have the time to build up this narrative, to build up this relationship with Eric, to make him feel like that they can trust him, right? And for those of us who have done orgs, online survivor games and stuff, like, time goes by so quickly, you can never fully 100% rely on someone unless if you already know them beforehand, right? And that's just not the case with New Era Survivor. That's why I think we don't see any hardcore duos or anything. There's no Diamond Windows. The closest we had was Yam Yam and Carolyn, on, I guess, Carson as well, right? Because everyone keeps turning on their best friend. It's like, oh, this is the huge, big strategic move. But what happened to like the Luke and Davids, the Parvati Amanda's, Parvati and Cerise? These duos been like, you know what? Let's just go to the end together. I don't care if I lose to you or you lose to me, because what matters most is that we are there together. Like, it's just now a normal board game of chess or checkers or anything, or Monopoly. It's like, well, I want to win, so I'm just going to knock out whoever I can because there's no repercussions. Well, except for if you're Charlie, of course. But like, for me personally, it's the disrespect on other franchises, as Jenny brings up here. I hate how much Jeff disrespects any survivor which isn't the US. Now, we have seen, like, one of the biggest controversial things, in my opinion, was the whole, like, the guys thing. Like, you know, should we say, come on in, guys, and all that kind of stuff at the beginning of the new era in season 41. Now, I'm very privileged. I'm very privileged to not have like this like issue or this problem, and so I didn't really relate to it. But I know that there are people out there who do find, you know, being called like guys like can be an issue for them. So I like what they're trying to do. However, this was not about, you know, putting like respect onto, you know, the LGBT players, the trans players, or, you know, the players with like, you know, like specialized pronouns. This was never for them. It was just to make Jeff and American Survivor look good. Jeff makes into a whole skit. So should I say, come on in, guys? Evie, should I say, come on in, guys? Ricard, should I say, come on in, guys? And it's like Jeff literally sets them up to take the fall on whether or not this happens. If they choose not to go through with it, then they probably upset a lot of people. If they do choose to go through with it, like we saw with Ricard received death threats for saying, yeah, I think we should drop the term guys. Whereas like Australian Survivor, South African Survivor, they just stopped saying it. It was never a huge dramatic deal. It was never about like, oh, like, let's turn this into a whole dramatic skit. It was none of that. They just stopped saying it, just out of respect for how the times have changed, out of respect for the players and fellow members of production. But no, not Jeff. He wants to make it all about himself. Look at how much I've changed and evolutionized. Like, it's pretty pathetic, if you ask me. And something else that's pretty pathetic is I just want to really quickly talk about season 50, right? Let me just quickly bring up something that he said about why Parvati was not called for season 50. Let me just bring up real quick. Where's it gone? Here it is.
There was a lot of conversation about Parvati not being invited to.
Right.
Even when she was on our show, she seemed a little surprised that she wasn't invited.
No, well, that's unfortunate that she didn't really know. But the truth was, if you're a Survivor fan, we had just done a season of all winners.
Yeah.
And it had Parvati and Rob and Tony and all of these great players. And we just felt like we just saw them.
Oh.
Let's do something different for 50. It had nothing to do with Parvati being good or not good or Rob.
Okay.
Parvati just won Australia
I know
World.
she
She's
did.
a dominant player.
Which is all the more reason why you think she would have been invited. But
we
I get
only
it.
had a
Yes.
few spots.
I
We
got
had
it.
750 people play. You and I were just talking about duplicity.
Yes.
Parvati's the master of it, but she does it with charm. And even though
So key words in that, right? You know, we didn't want to do winners, you know, because we just saw Parvati, we just saw Rob, we just saw Tony. Well, let me just very quickly play this clip, actually. Why Boston Rob turned down season 50.
Welcome back to ET's little private island here in the Bahamas. You having flashbacks right now?
I gotta tell you, I've never felt more at home. I
Yeah.
love it out here.
You are actually the only player to compete on Survivor 5 times. You know Survivor 50 is shooting right now, as we speak. The fans have spoken, and they said, we want Boston Rob, and we want Amber on the show. Why did you guys not do it, or was there an opportunity for you to do it?
Early on when we were discussing the season, Jeff called me
Yeah.
and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. But truly, I feel so fulfilled and, you know, my journey's complete.
Yeah.
So I really did want someone else to have another chance.
Well, one
So hear that? He turned it down. Oh, but we just saw Parvati, we just saw Rob, we just saw Tony. Then why the fuck did you call Rob? I mean, I understand why he called Rob. Rob is one of the greatest legends and probably reality TV history, right? Whether if you like Rob or if you don't like Rob, he is one of the greatest staples for reality TV. He's done so much for the show Survivor. We saw him in the Traders early in the year. We saw him in Deal or No Deal Island last year as well. He's still got it. He's still such a bloody phenomenal player. And Parvati as well, phenomenal player. But do you want to know why Parvati wasn't on season 50, wasn't called for it? It's because she did The Traders, Deal or No Deal Island, and most importantly, Australian Survivor. You know, just whole ego about other shows. You know, he's even talked about, like, in one of my previous videos, I talked about why Jeff Probst needs to be sacked. Check that out, where I actually do play the clip of Jeff talking about, like, his bias towards, you know, like players doing other shows, how it gets salty and stuff like that. And yeah, he truly hates players doing other shows. But when you think about it, they are advertising your own show. Rob going out doing the Amazing Race probably brought a lot of Amazing Race fans to Survivor. Rob going out playing the Traders, like Sam Smith, you know, not the singer, the Amazing Traders winner of New Zealand Traders. He did not know who Parvati, Suri, Boston Rob, or Sandra was until he saw them on the American Traders, because he just doesn't watch Survivor. Now he really wants to watch their seasons because he loved them on the Traders. He absolutely loved watching them on the Traders. Same thing with Luke. I was telling him how I'm so excited because Luke is on Australia versus the World and Parvati and Suri. He's like, wait, Luke from Traders Australia? And I was like, yeah. He's a huge fan favorite on Survivor. And yeah, like everyone doing all these shows is just bringing more advertising to the original show. But Jeff, he doesn't like that because it's either you wait for Survivor or you don't. And I mean, like, let's just very quickly bring up the season 50 cast, if I can just find it real quick. Here it goes on Facebook. So you're telling me that for a legend season, this is the cast you're going to get, right? Now, bear in mind, we haven't had a normal returning player season since Game Changers. Season 34. Like, I can blitz through so many great names who have yet to see come back. Like Jay from season 33, Dominic, season 36. Like, even though I think he was like a porn star at one point, but Michael Yerger from Ghost Island, was one of my favorite players, growing up in like that 2018 kind of time. Like Joe Mena, War Dog. I think Gavin is a very underrated runner-up, and I think he needs a second chance story. He played all 38 days, but then Chris Underwood literally stole the win from him under his feet. Even season 39, where's Janet? Where's Kelly? And I know that they're not going to cast people from season 39 because of the Dan Spilo situation, but there's still so many great players. Dean, Lauren, Janet, Kelly, Karishma, Elaine. There's 6 people already. Even Aaron and Missy were very entertaining to watch as well, but we don't get to see any of these players again because it has been so long. And we're now getting more and more players. Like 2 of my favorite players have yet to come back is Reynolds from Survivor Karamoan and Natalie Bolton. We're probably never going to see them come back. And that's pretty heartbreaking to see. And it's like, even looking at this cast, like overall, I've said it many, many times, I think it is a fine cast. Like if it was just All Stars 2, you get what I mean? It was season 49, it was All Stars 2. I'd be like, you know what? I'm excited. I am very happy about this cast. I think like it looks like a great cast. Even though I don't know a lot of the new era players, I've heard a lot about Dee, the story of Emily. I've heard that Carl is a great winner as well. So far, I'm liking Savannah and Rizzo as well on season 49. I'm like, trying to keep up with it. And like Q as well. Like I've heard that Q, Dee, and Carolyn are pretty much like the 3 biggest players, I guess, and Charlie. The 4 biggest players or characters of the new era. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But yeah, it's a fine cast. But when you think about the people that they cut, right? So they cut Jerry, they cut Jonathan Penner, they cut Rob Sisternino, which I think is kind of a blessing in disguise. I do think Rob, because obviously he's confirmed he's on the next season of the Traders US. I think the Traders is a way better game for him than Survivor, because if he goes out on Survivor, he's either the first boot because he's well too connected, or maybe everyone's just going to fanboy over him and he'll sort of get taken up. But I think Traders, he's got a legitimate chance to win. So I'm very excited to see Rob on the Traders. We almost didn't get Coach. He's a last-minute addition. But for me personally, there's no Robs. He turned it down because of what Survivor's become. There's no Tonys. From what I've heard, he turned down 50 to do Australia versus the world. There's no Parvati. She wasn't called because she was doing any other shows. I think Sandra has pretty much retired, which kind of sucks because I would have loved to see her play one more time, especially in an Australia versus the world kind of season as well. No Sarah Lucina either. She was an upcoming star, especially after her run on Winners at War as well. No Natalie Anderson either. She would have been great on a cast like this, but I do think Traders, once again, is another great, sort of game for Natalie Anderson's skill set as well. But why aren't these legends playing? It's because of how shit New Era Survivor has gotten, where everyone's losing their votes, advantage galore and stuff. Everyone always criticizes game changers for the advantage get-in at the final 6. But here's a hot take. I think that's perfectly fine because every advantage was found pre-merge. Ty found his idol on the red tribe. I forgot the names. The red tribe, the blue tribe, and they swap back down to 2 tribes. Sarah got the legacy advantage from Sierra, who, found it on day 1. Obviously, Braid had individual immunity, and Troy Zan found his idol during the first tribe swap. So they were all pre-merge. That's perfectly fine. And Jeff and CBS has seen how much people hate advantage get-in. And what's their take? Let's add in more advantages to screw people over. Like, I'm sorry, there's just such bullshit. It really is. It's like, oh, we're here listening to the fans. We're trying to, do stuff for the fans. No, they're honestly not. They're really not. And, like, I don't know what to say. But US Survivor used to be peak reality TV. I remember even, like, talking to my dad, like, oh, my gosh, Ghost Island's coming out, with all these horror advantages and stuff. That's such a cool, great idea. Even though the season was kind of a bust, I think it's a cool idea. David vs. Goliath, very similar to Champions vs. Contenders and Australian Survivor, but overall it's such a great theme. Edge of Extinction, controversial twist, controversial opinion. I really liked that season and that twist, especially pre-merge, works very well pre-merge, but seeing Kelly Wentworth come back, Aubrey, Joe, and David Wright as well, it's like, wow, great returning players to come back. Island of the Idols, I think, is a very interesting idea for a season as well. And yeah, we just don't have really anything that exciting. Just like, hey, look, it's a season with a number. They're in the exact same places, doing the exact same thing, having the exact same kind of strategies all over again. And like we even saw it as well. Really funny, which once again, thank you so much to the Drop Your Buffs podcast. Honestly, this whole podcast right here is a sponsor for Drop Your Buffs. But even Jeff having to try and be like, oh, see, New Era Survivor is so hard. What do you say to somebody that says the 26-day... Sorry, my English is just fucked. Sorry. What do you say to someone that says the 26-day game, that's not Survivor? Anyone who says that, I want to know how many days they've done this. Oh my gosh, first time saying this. I want to know if Jeremy Collins thinks 26-day Survivor counts as a true win or would it be 0.75? I'm going to like that. I love Carolyn. Here we go. Here's some great comments. In my first season, I lasted 37 days and I was the first member of the jury. Nuna, because I lasted 22 days, does this mean in the eye of Jeff, I'm a finalist? King George, love merging on day 27, literally a day after New Era Survivor ends. I reckon we're sitting pretty with our 31, 37, 39 days, Laura and Logan. 47 days on Australian Survivor. Does this count as 0.5 of a season? Here we go, Mark, day 46, and getting the loved one visit. That is so true. And Tyson, lol, over 100. Even former Survivor players hate this shit. No one bloody likes New Era Survivor. Fans are just clutching for any good Survivor. Look, I understand, right? There are franchises that I absolutely adore. One of them is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which the first movie reaction will be dropping tomorrow night around this exact time. Mark your clocks, mark your calendars. At 9:02 p.m., you'll see Kahuna's reaction to the first Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey movie. But I love that franchise so much, but guess what? It is absolutely shit. I'm being fully honest with you. Like, it is such crap movies, right? But guess what? I love it because it's crap. But I have the honesty and the integrity to tell you that it's crap. If someone's like, oh, would you recommend this in a film festival? Hell no. I'm not trying to say that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is as good as Saving Private Ryan, Warfare, Top Gun, Empire Strikes Back. I just think it's just a great movie just on its own. And these American New Era Survivor fans are trying to be like, no, see, New Era Survivor is so hard, it's so tough and stuff is way better than Australian Survivor. And it's like, look, I've been Australian Survivor loyalist since day one, right? But I will admit it has its flaws. Even though I love the over-the-top editing, the dramatics of Australian Survivor, yes, a lot of players do get purpled. Sometimes we get frank-and-bitter confessionals and conversations, and sometimes you can really hear it as well. Like, I'm rewatching Australia vs. World with one of my best friends at the moment, and at the start, when David's like, I spoke to Rob from South Africa at the challenge, it's like you can tell that was just insert word, and it's like, I still love it. There's criticisms, non-eliminations. I do like non-eliminations, but sometimes their twists, such as the urn, such as purgatory, does go a wee bit too far. But you can find flaws in everything. But with Australian Survivor, they'll have like a flaw, right? Such as the purple edits. However, the characters they make every single season, like, Jenny, I know you're in the chat. Tell me, like, all the great genuine characters in the past few New Era seasons that you're like, oh yes, I remember this, remember that and stuff. Feels grand and spectacular. Because I remember everything for Australian Survivor. Almost every single season. You have your huge players, huge blindsides. What is it like? Laura getting blindsided and not Champions vs. Contenders. And Brains vs. Brawn 2. Like Karen trying to turn the ties at the last minute to save herself and Zara, but Karen gets voted out. The whole AJ and Miles and Kaylin as a trio was bloody phenomenal. The Ferris and Kirby rivalry, even the Mark and Caroline sort of rivalry / frenemy friendship going on. Raymond was great. Valeria was great. The whole Eileen, Eden, all these super fans of the game brought so much to the season. And there's so many memorable characters, but with New Era, personally for me, from all the seasons I've seen, they're all sort of clumped together. And a lot of them become very forgettable or just the exact same archetype. Like, I only remember Cody because of the whole elevator salesman thing. That's the only thing that sticks out. Otherwise, if I had to look at first glance, I would have thought he was like Sam. or like a Xander. You get what I mean? They fit that same archetype. They all blend in so well together. Just some comments I do want to bring up, just because I've been missing out on them. Here from Jenny. US Survivor hasn't even evolved. The 40s has the same format structure for 10 years. Exactly. They haven't changed once. 3 starting tribes, journeys, everything is the same. I welcome themes to return in the 50s. Well, hopefully. And look, Australian Survivor, their themes are pretty over the top. Like Brains versus Brawn, but they had Baden, who just did Tour de France. He's like a gold medalist and that. And it's like Tour de France is a pretty brawny thing, but they tried being like, oh, but the strategy of not crashing your cycle and stuff is like so intense. But it's like, well, no, it's still pretty brawn. You know, you're not relying on your brain to ride a bike. You're using your bloody brawn power for that. But they, you know, they make it a theme. They work their way around it with all these different casts, but personalities come first, right? And that's something Australian Survivor's done really, really well. So they've cast phenomenal personalities. Lol, we just saw them on the 48, 49 players. We just saw them. Yeah, exactly. We just saw all these new era players. Like, when's the next time that Jonathan Penner and Jerry Manthe is going to be free for a all-star Survivor season compared to, you know, like your Kyles, your Joes, your Camillas, your Jonathans? You get what I mean? Like, it's just, oh, yeah. And 39, I had a great cast despite controversy. Yeah, I 100% agree. I hope Australian Survivor and traders will put all these big names that got snubbed on 50. I mean, that's what they're already doing. Even Carolyn, which, I'm going to get into Carolyn in just a hot second. But even Carolyn literally posted, you don't know any producers for Survivor EU or Deal or No Deal Island, which was so great to see after season 50 casts have been dropped. I feel like Rob C will do well in traders because not many will even know who he is since he hadn't been on TV in 20 years. Yeah, that is true. They might know the podcast of, you know, Rob has a podcast, but, you know, just because you know the name of something doesn't mean you know, I guess, the context behind all of it. And Suri gets a pass. So this kind of bringing it back to the Carolyn thing. So Jeff cut Carolyn because she was on the traders. You know, how dare Carolyn try and make a career out of herself for reality TV? How dare Carolyn try actually have a life out of waiting to be on Survivor? And who knows, she probably would have been cut. Like Jesse, while I think he's overrated, he was cut from 50. Why? He was one of the biggest players in the new era. You get what I mean? Players like Dominic, you know, the closest man to winning Survivor without winning it is not even on 50. You know, Nellie Bolton, Reynolds, as I mentioned, Michael Yerger, like Kellen, like Sydney from Co Wrong as well. I didn't bring her up earlier, but Sydney as well. Why the bloody hell hasn't she come back? Sean Richter as well. Like, there's so many one-time players who haven't had the chance to come back just because of absolutely bullshit reasons by Jeff. And it's like, well, why should Carolyn sit on her ass and just hope that Jeff will potentially bring her back for a season when she could go out and do all these other shows? And, you know, yeah, she wasn't on season 50, but I really hope we do get to see Carolyn on Australian Survivor or Deal or No Deal Island season 3, because I think she'll do really great at those shows, and it's Jeff's loss. Let's not forget, Jeff Probst turned down Nina Twine for American Survivor. She didn't even get on the David vs. Goliath season. I believe that's the season that she had applied for. She didn't get into that. What a huge missed opportunity. Nina's so beloved here in Australia. And the reason why I think Suri gets a pass, Jenny, is simply because Jeff looked at the cast. Like, once again, let's have a quick look at the cast right here. Let me just bring it right back up. All right, so you look at the cast, tell me, who are the legends? You get what I mean? Who are the biggest names, right, in, I guess, Survivor history? Who is really drawing you in to watch season 50, right? You've got Ozzy, the original challenge beast, right? You've got, I guess Colby was like the original challenge beast, but, you know, as James said in Heroes vs. Villains, he's now just a Superman in a fat suit. Coach the Dragon Slayer, such great personality. But yes, what, Coach, Colby, Ozzy. You got some more recent favorites like Christian and Rick Evans, obviously. Q was a very huge character. Stephanie LaGrossa, blast from the past. Mike White, it's great we're seeing Mike White, but I feel like him coming back was more so because of what's the show he's making again? I completely forgot the name of it. But anyways, Angelina, it's like, yeah, great one-time player. I'm glad we're seeing her come back. And obviously with D, while I haven't seen Dee's season, I've seen like her highlights on YouTube. I've listened to a deep dive talking about the game, and I've just heard a lot from Drew, V, and Jake, and it's like, yeah, she is a player to watch. She's a great winner. But once again, Jeff doesn't want winners. Why is Dee and Kyle here on the cast if he doesn't want winners? You know what I mean? And I think the only reason why Suri is on is because I think after Jeff turned down everyone, he looked at the cast and it's like, shit, we've got not many massive legends of the show coming in to play the season. Let me just go and see if Suri wants to come on, which of course Suri's going to do it. She's a master strategist, and she was so close to winning Australia versus the world. And so, yeah, no, absolutely understandable why Suri is on. And from Sweetie, hi Mucky, hey, how are you? Hopefully you're having a mean-ass night tonight, all day, all morning, or, whereabouts you have a base. Hopefully you're having a splendid time. But that's kind of my rant really on Jeff Probst's American Survivor. It's just shit. Honestly, it really is. And I feel like fans are grasping so hard at just anything good. As I mentioned earlier, fans are losing their minds over the intro, over the auction, the fact that a tribe swap is back. It's like, oh, yes, it's back. But guess what? All this was in One World. Why isn't One World one of the greatest seasons of all time, right? It has all three things. Why don't fans love that so much? But yeah, it's what was I going to say? Oh, comment here. I'm so here for this podcast. I'm really over Jeff's antics ever since New Era. I can give my points. Quickly drop in your points, bro. I'm almost done with the podcast, but quickly just send in some stuff. I'm more than happy to read it out. And with Australian Survivor, right? In the new cast of Australian Survivor, which I covered with Eustace, Australian Survivor Facts, highly recommend it. We've got players from Big Brother, Traders New Zealand. All right? Like, mind-blowing. Mind-blowing for me, especially being a Kiwi. I love Traders New Zealand. I think it's a very underrated, season, or I guess franchise of Traders, but we get a bad rep for our strategy, which is, pretty fair enough when you look at our Survivor, but Traders actually did really bloody well. We've got previous Survivor contestants as well. We've got someone from The Voice, Matt Rogers' brother on, and it's like they are doing the right stuff. You get what I mean? And while you can be like, oh, Australian Survivor, they're bringing back so many players. Well, American Survivor isn't even bringing back anyone. You get what I mean? So what do you want? Do you not want to see players come back, or do you want to see players come back? And while it is unfortunate, like I think if it's half and half, like in Heroes vs. Villains, it's one of my greatest critiques about Heroes vs. Villains as a season. It is so run by the returning players. If it wasn't, like George and Simon specifically carry that season. Just the rivalry alone, right? And it's like with Tons vs. Rebels, you could be like, oh, Ferris and Kirby carried that season. I actually heavily disagree. There's so much other great stuff that happened in Tons vs. Rebels that wasn't just Ferris and Kirby. Whereas for Heroes vs. Villains, it kind of was just George and Simon that really did carry that season. But if it's not half and half, I think it's fine. And oh my gosh, we've got a lot of comments here from Sweetie. Let's read out. First of all, him not putting Caroline on 50 because she did Traders, yet said Traders nothing to do with it. It's petty. Yeah, I've already covered that in my original video on why Jeff Probst needs to be sacked. But yeah, I agree. It's absolutely dog shit. Him calling Parvati a 1.5 winner recently shady. I've already spoken about that. It is just pure jealousy. You go, I mean, saying it's not real Survivor. As Jenny pointed out, American Survivor isn't even the OG Survivor. It was actually Swedish Survivor. So he can get off his high horse with that one. It's just rude and disrespectful. It's him trying to blast up his own ego because more and more people are slowly but surely coming towards Australian Survivor. South African Survivor as well was starting to get more of a loyal fan base as well before it ended, unfortunately. Really hope that Survivor South Africa gets to come back soon. But Australian Survivor is still growing, and Heroes vs. Villains, thank God for George and for Simon being the amazing players and characters they are, especially George, for making this show go global, right? It's been so cool getting to see more and more people being like, Australian Survivor, what's this? This is so bloody good compared to the shit we're getting, And yeah, it's heartwarming to see. And I hope people continue this love for the new season because, yes, it sucks that Jelpy is gone, but I do think David if you had to pick someone that wasn't JLP, I do think that David is the guy for it. He can't make up his mind if the show's about morale wins sometimes or a dirty, gritty game. More so in 43, he put Mariah down when she was really poor about the Survivor experience. I mean, I don't really remember any of that, but yeah, I remember a specific quote. This was also in season 43. He said, Cody, give me a surfing analogy for Survivor. And Cody's like, well, Survivor making a big move, it's just like catching a wave. You just got to make sure that you catch the right wave and you got to make the right move that will help propel you to the shoreline and win. And Jeff literally said, so what you're saying is that it's like sharks. It's like, no one said that, Jeff. Nobody said that. I remember laughing my ass off when he said that. It's like he wants drama, but he doesn't want to cast villains. Oh, there's something I forgot to say. He doesn't want villains on the show. Yet, in all the previous years, he said his two favorite players was Boston Rob and Parvati, two of the biggest villains in Survivor history. They're both on the Villains Tribe. Arguably two of the biggest characters on the Villains Tribe as well. Now, those are basically my three recent things that bothered me. Also, he hyped up bad seasons and now it's like we can't trust him. He said 48 was one of the best ever. And I haven't seen 48, but that's pretty bloody funny. They say it's the best. I'll go back and watch the whole video because we agree a lot. Survivor Show is way better. King George is my GOAT. Yeah, he is the GOAT. There's been at least 2 instances where people bring in political, personal issues into the game at Tribal. He doesn't make them vote. One time was Wrestler Jeff Varner. What was the other time? Because I think Jeff Varner is pretty bloody understandable. When Tori was eliminated. It didn't give them a fair chance to vote. Yeah, look, and I think 41 and 42 was pretty social political as well. Obviously, that's when the diversity mandate first came in as well. I don't really remember much about the Tory tribal council to really make any sort of like comments or like claims on it and stuff. But Jeff Varner, I think, is pretty bloody reasonable on why they didn't vote. One thing that still, I guess, doesn't gripe with me was everything to do with Dan Spieler. You get me? I know that players were kind of using it as a strategy, but that's pretty fucked up what happened to Kelly. And, Janet being the hero, actually calling Jeff out on that. And yet neither of them are coming back to play again. Like, two of the biggest recent heroes, in my opinion, of American Survivor for standing up against that shit. And yet they're not even coming back to play Survivor. Like, who knows? Maybe they tuned it down. But I know Janet for sure is very much active in the Survivor community. She's all over Expedition Online, which is an online version of Survivor. And yeah, no, it's just dog shit, in my opinion. Like, everything to do with Jeff and American Survivor is starting to fall. It's starting to crumble. And I really hope, because here's the thing. I think Jeff does need to be removed from his executive producer role because I feel like he's bringing Survivor down with him. In his mind, he is Survivor. And I very much understand that, right? He has made Survivor. And while I'm so grateful that Jeff Probst have made Survivor, there's a certain point where he has to stop, right? I'm a huge Star Wars fan, as you can clearly tell, but it needs to stop, First 6 films, great. Since Disney's taken over, there's been some cool stuff here and there, but it's mostly flops. And I think you just got to learn to just stop. Just put the foot on the brakes, stop. Something needs to change, right? And I think Jeff is bringing the show down with him because he wants to be Survivor. But as Australian Survivor's proved, he is not Survivor. Survivor is so many different things. Survivor's always been about the cast. It's always been about the production, never about the host. But Jeff Probst always makes it about himself. And so while I don't want him to be completely gone as a whole, I do think from an executive producer role, he does need to go. His time is up. It's time we roll the dice on someone new. Even like Joe from Deal or No Deal Islanders. So how great would Alan Cumming be on Survivor? I still think Boston Rob would be a great Survivor host. Even Parvati, she's called out, CBS. Maybe it's about time that Parvati, or like a strong female 2-time winner, has a go being a Survivor host. And I agree. Roll the dice on someone new. Roll the dice on a new executive producer, and I swear you're going to see some good changes happen to American Survivor. Now, thank you so much for listening to my rant and vent, everyone. I was going to make this just like a short video, but like, honestly, I just wanted to, just speak the honest truth, speak my honest opinion. My original plan was for this to only be like 20 to 30 minutes. Now we're 50 minutes in. So thank you so much, Sweetie and Jenny, as well, for being in the comments. You guys are absolute legends. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. Subscribe for some cheeky, naughty time, something naughty that's been coming up. Kahuna and I will be reacting to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which comes out tomorrow. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 and 2 will premiere tomorrow. You get to watch my reaction, rewatching the amazing movies, Kahuna's reaction to watching it for the first time. Then on Tuesday, or probably Wednesday, but most likely Tuesday, we're going to be seeing Kahuna's reaction to Peter Pan, Neverland of Nightmares. Then on Halloween, you're going to see Kahuna's reaction to the Bambi movie, which we're going to be recording tomorrow night. And don't forget the American Survivor recaps run by V, Drew, and Jake. They're doing such a phenomenal job. I struggle to enjoy and watch New Era Survivor, but I'm really glad that they enjoy it. They love it. So make sure you check out the amazing coverage as well. And we've got a very special surprise coming up very, very soon. I will make a whole post about it. So make sure you subscribe to our Instagram at Mucky Hope Productions. Ka kite anō, everybody. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.